So we're going to give a little context first for the listeners. So I met Mia on a business retreat, and she is someone where when you talk to her, even in the first few sentences, you feel like completely accepted and warm. And she just creates this really amazing environment. And I'm sure a lot of your clients feel that too. So I want people to feel that digitally.
And a lot of people actually like never thought that you could be able to channel that environment or experience online, but you can totally do that. So thank you. And thank you for recognizing that in me.
I'm going to ask you about that a little bit because I think this is one of the biggest challenges. Well, this will be a later question is like, how do you bring your presence that you have in person to your online, not, I don't want to say persona because it's you, but to everyone who sees you. So that will be a question. But first, let's talk about what it is that you do, what you focus on.
Great idea. And I would love to answer that question. And I actually think we can like kind of weave it in. Because I know that a lot of the other questions that you want to ask me is like, that is the answer, basically. It's like hidden, hidden in everything else. Actually, I don't say I help because I do empower people. I empower especially female entrepreneurs. I do have a few very courageous male entrepreneurs from time to time, which I really, really love. I empower them to create a business where they really, really have more than enough so they can impact more. So my people really love to impact. They love to make a difference. They love to serve. They love to take their contribution and create something with it. It's not just about money and clients and time, even though that is, of course, really important. It is more than enough of access to your own creative powers, more than enough of access to your intuition and your own intuitive guidance and that spark within yourself, being more than enough and worthy within yourself. So it's not just about business strategy. And as we say, like, I love you said like bro funnels. What I do is way more than that. It's way more about who you are and bringing that brilliance of your contribution into the world in a way that's really easeful for you and feel effortless. So my clients say, oh, it's always such an expansion game with you.
When you summed it up just like that, I love that phrase because there was someone who was speaking about this that I heard this idea that as long as you are helping people expand, you will always be valuable. You will always have work. You will always grow if your main focus is on that. And I think that's what really attracted me to talking to you at the retreat and after is that it's not just about like, yes, you are automation queen, you know, all this stuff. It's the no bro funnels we were talking about, that it's a tool for everything else you said so that you can have more than just like getting by, more than just the sales, more than just the income, but actually feel good in that business that you've created. Because I think a lot of people listening, no matter how much they've earned, we've all been in that like very hard energy, that hard energy of like just pushing, everything's difficult. And that doesn't feel good no matter what your bank balance shows.
When I worked in corporate, I worked with a lot of very, very successful businesses because I worked in finance, right? Not just there, but my parents are entrepreneurs. I've been around very successful entrepreneurs my whole life. And what I've noticed is that a strong wound, a strong need for acknowledgement can drive people a lot, but it's going to cost them somewhere else. It's going to cost them in their relationships. It's going to cost them in their connection with themselves. It's going to cost them in the connection with their kids, with their health, or somewhere else. And when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I was like, I'm not going to sacrifice on this. This is too important to sacrifice on. I want a life that is fulfilling. I want meaning. I want passion. I want to create something that is more than money, that is more than me. I want to create something that really fills me up and allow me to radiate into whatever space I'm in. Then the business is not a hunt. It's not that, oh, I'm hunting for the next client. I'm hunting for the next 6K launch. I'm hunting for, it's not always this performance driven game. It's a passion driven game. It's a purpose driven game. And it's a completely different narrative. It's a completely different paradigm to run your business from that place.
I think you also kind of, when you run it from that place, like you're saying, you attract people who are craving that as well. And it just creates a whole community that feels very different. Because I've been in communities that are the opposite, that are the bro funnel, especially in the fitness industry. And oh, like Mia, every day I dreaded showing up for that stuff because it just felt like all the time it was, how can I trick people? How can I push people?
Yeah.
How can I get to this next number every single day? How many people can I DM? It felt really exhausting. So I think it's nice to see that there is another way and you have been successful in it
Oh,
because we
yeah.
don't see that a lot.
Let's be honest, a lot of people have hamster wheels in their business, but they're really afraid of stepping out of it, turning their backs on the performance game. Because who am I then? But if you frame the question a little different and you ask yourself, why do I need to be acknowledged so much? You will be allowing yourself context to that wound of needing attention because you don't feel good enough. And when you heal that, when you transform that into a strong sense of worth, a wholehearted, I am good enough and I have something to contribute with, you don't need to work hard anymore. You don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. And that makes you radiant and real because you're confident in your own skin, no matter who you are, right? That's kind of where I want to take my clients. I usually say, like, every strategy works, but do you work? I mean, that's like the big question, right? And I feel when you try to just fit into any kind of box, you will always sacrifice your own authenticity and you will always sacrifice your own authority. And that is like two things that is gonna propel your success, your soulful success.
It's terrifying to walk away from that though, because I call it the business matrix,
Oh,
where
yeah, I love it.
everyone is, we're stuck because we think that this is the reality that we see and we're forcing ourselves every day to live that. And when you come out the other side, like you're saying, where you're authentically you and you're doing things a different way and you're embracing your authority, you just can't, like, you don't understand why you contorted yourself for so long to be that way. But I understand for many people listening, that's going to seem like a dream. It's going to seem like everything we're saying is not what happens. So to really make it clear, I think we should talk about your story.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do
So
that.
tell us where you started with it, because this, for everyone listening, is going to show you just what you can change when you step into the energy that we're talking about.
I'm going to start way back when, 2010, actually. At that point, to be honest, I did not see myself as a victim. But when I look back now, I was a victim for acknowledgement. I was like a victim for performance, all of those, like the hamster wheel. Like I really wanted to succeed, and that kept me in this sophisticated role of the victim, right? But I completely shedded that in 2013. But in 2010, I was working in finance. I was actually excelling in my job. I was doing great. Something happened when I stepped further into this finance world. It's a man's world, to be honest. I'm going to try to be as sensitive as possible because I actually really care about the people I worked with, my colleagues and my boss, and I know they did the best that they could, but the paradigm of a main world in finance is women are not as much worth as men are. So I worked my butt off. I saw my colleagues, men, get one raise, one promotion after the other, and I was stuck in admin. I was told, this is your place, you need to be here. I wasn't seen. And I felt the reason why I wasn't seen was because I had boobs. And my boss was frustrated with me. We had like a paradigm class. He was amazing and he really tried, but different generations and all that stuff. And when I got pregnant, I sensed that he was kind of relieved because then she was like, oh, finally she can get a part-time job, and da da da. But that wasn't what I wanted. Like, I wanted to unfold my potential. I wanted to give something. I wanted to work for something meaningful. And suddenly things just didn't make sense anymore. I was working so hard and I didn't get the acknowledgement. The wound, I didn't get the acknowledgement that I needed. And I broke. I burned out. My heart wasn't in it anymore. I didn't feel at some point, the balance tipped. I didn't feel it was worth fighting for this in this paradigm. I didn't feel it was worth it. That time I had two small kids. I was in a dilemma. Do I want to be a prison mom, or do I want to, let this creatress have her fun? And for me, it just wasn't either or. I wouldn't be able to get what I wanted from the job that I had. So I quit my job. I went back to university. I studied the psychology of change. And then I started my business at the same time, slowly. So half time study, half time business. I was kind of arrogant because I thought you've been working in finance. My parents are entrepreneurs. This can't be that hard. But I soon found out that if you do not know anything about marketing, if you don't know anything about selling, creating offers, the skills to run a business, well, you're not gonna have a business. So I failed miserably, like for years. I was so frustrated that I couldn't use the one talent that I had, working hard, to make this work. When I got pregnant with our third child, I was relieved. I was like, thank God I can go on maternity leave so I don't have to work with this business shit anymore. And at the same time, we moved to Germany. So my husband got a job in Germany, and we moved. I gave birth to our third child, and I was supposed to have this nice long maternity leave where I could like figure out my shit basically, and figure out why I did not manage to get any kind of success with my business. But as life sometimes does, it humbles you, right? When Luna was born, she's born the 3rd of September. And the 6th of September, we sat in an ambulance back to the hospital because she was very sick. And we didn't know that, actually dying. And we didn't know that either. So when we came to the hospital, she was dragged out of our arms and went into the hospital. And next time we saw her, she was like plastered in lights and needles everywhere. And I was like, what is going on? And nobody could say anything to us other than, if she survived the night, we were lucky. And I was like, okay. When I look back, I can see how that experience humbled me so much, because up until that day, honestly, it was all about me. It was all about my ego, like what my ego wanted. I wanted success. I wanted acknowledgement. When you have such a traumatic experience, your perceptions and priorities change like in an instant. Well, first of all, she did survive. She has like a record in Germany for being the most poisoned child and still live through it. She had a very bad blood poisoning going on that completely ruined her nervous system and brain. So we got home a month later with a child with a brain damage, and we didn't know how big it was. So we were told, well, you just have to see the next couple of years what happens. So I use the things that I do very well. I create stuff. So I started to research, how do you reverse a brain damage in children? And I used the next 6 years, 3 years full time, reversing her brain damage. In 16, we had child number 4. At that point, I was like, I need to go back to my business. Like, I need to go out and contribute in a new way. Not from the wounded ego. I kind of recognized that if I want her and my other children to live their best life, I need to live my best life. So, of course, it was immensely meaningful to help Luna reverse her brain damage, but it's just not all of me. So, I think if you're listening and you have a special need child, I know you know how consuming that can be, and you really need to nourish yourself. So, for me, it was like, I need to go out and contribute in new ways. So, I started building my business part time again. I trained Luna part time. I built the business part time, and I was back in the pattern of working hard, back in the pattern of now not so much for me and my ego, but for a higher cause. But I still sacrificed myself. I still burn out from it. I got a lot of success though. I completely got the skills of marketing, selling, offer production, all that good stuff, money, a lot of money. But I burned myself out because I was back in the pattern of working hard and sacrificing myself, right? And then I found out that I'm a projector. And the energetic blueprint of a projector is like, do you want to burn out? Yes, then just work hard. And I found out that my whole family was a different energy type. Like their energy looks different than mine. Being in the trenches, really doing the work. And my energy is way more guiding, leading, finding solutions for other people to be able to walk that path. And I was like, damn, I have like designed my life and my business in a completely wrong way. Like, this is what is kind of messing me up all the time. Just felt there's no going back from this knowledge. And my business just took off. I worked way less hours. I felt so good within me. I suddenly understood, who am I? How am I supposed to operate in this world?
I'm going to ask you a bit more about the difference in what it was, but I want to say first, like when I first heard you tell me your background and your story, like you get a bit of chills with it because you kind of were forced to work on yourself internally in a way that many of us don't have to. Right? We don't necessarily have to be in that position because we're either not caring for someone else or someone who needs as much attention. And so it's very easy to escape this work. You're an example of when you do it, how powerful it is for you and for your family, whoever that is part of your family. You know, if you don't have children or you don't have a partner, it could also be who else you help, right? Even friends. What I always feel is so interesting about you, and this has been my journey that I'm still going through, to be honest. Like, I'm still coming out of that hard work phase. I really am still at that part where, and I think the big thing you said is that there's all these tools and all these strategies that exist, but until you can get through that inner part, they are not going to be very helpful for you because either they work financially, but you burn out, or they don't work at all. And I think it's really good to see someone on the other side like you who is showing what that looks like. Can you share a little bit about some of once you've done this inner work and it happened for you, what were more of the, I guess, the objective or the analytical parts of your business that enabled you to keep living this way? And I know we can't get into a lot of it, but like structurally, what did you do that allowed you to step back a little bit?
I want to say I automated stuff. I always automated stuff. It's a mystery for me how other people run their business when they don't automate stuff. I'm like, you must work really hard. And they're like, well, we do. And I'm like, why don't you automate stuff? And it was just, for me, it was logic. I think it's my projector mind, you know? I learned over the years that when I think something is unlogical, it's because there's a better way, you know? So for me, it was just logic that I automated my client attraction. Like my client attraction is automated, has been for the last 10 years. I don't use a lot of organic content. I don't hustle with social media. Actually, I love Instagram. I just don't want to be in that game myself. I don't want to be such a crucial part of my business that I have to do it. And that's like one of my things. We have seasons in life, and our business needs to be running when we have a winter season. It needs to run itself when we have a winter season because we will get winter seasons. Winter season is part of your creatress. You won't be able to create anything if you're not able to go into that introverted state of life. And life will also happen. Like last year, my grandmom died and my granddad died. Like stuff like that happens, and you go through seasons of grief, you go through seasons of a loved one being sick. It's like that is life, and your business have to be able to support you while you are in those stages. So automating things is like the one thing that I really do. And I think one thing that most people could benefit from was automating their client attraction. You don't have to get like a full blown 200 steps funnel, being less hands on, being less in the trenches. I know whenever I come up with some kind of crazy offer, I know I have people who want to purchase it because they trust me, they know me, they want to hang out with me, they want to be in my expensive space. And I think underrated.
I think if anyone listening hasn't focused on that aspect yet, to really consider it and to find you, of course, which we'll be sharing in a little bit here. But I think it's important because I found this out the hard way. In January, I lost my voice for 3 months. My voice was my job. And that was completely dry. Beginning of this year, there was nothing because I hadn't done that stuff for this business in particular. And you just never know when this is gonna happen. You never know when things are going to hit you, and you cannot be in a position of having to get back. It just is exhausting because it takes more time. Yeah, just essential part. I know that you are creating something along the lines of this. Is it called the client attractor, or it's something along like it's similar name to this?
I have a course called the Client Attractor. It's on my website, and it's basically how to automate your client attraction. But we do have effortless expansion that is a more hands-on program where we help the students actually set up the whole automated process. It's not a done for you, but it's done together. Like we do it together, and we help them set up the whole automated process. We also help them create a small offer so we can liquidate the ad cost, because that's like some of the things that are difficult with automation is that you need to pay for the automation in some capacity, right?
This is
Yeah.
a big thing too because everyone talks about how you definitely need to invest in your business and your skills in order to scale. You
Yeah.
wanna do it in a way though where you are getting some of that back as you're doing it. And I
Yeah.
think that that's a really important point because probably everyone listening, even if they're brand new, has put money into something that has not been structured in a way to return it to them. It makes you scared. It makes you scared to try again.
We have the mindset that breaking even in your client attraction is really a good thing. Whereas you can put so much pressure on yourself, and we want to scale that pressure back. And we want to be like focusing on what really, really matters when it comes to client attraction. That's attracting the right people, nourishing them, and making sure you break even. So you have this tribe of people that you can actually be visible, you can be in front of, you can share your message, you can inspire.
That brings in this idea of, I was listening to this recently too, of the lifetime value of your client and customer and how we kind of get lost on that, where we think
Oh, yeah.
if they don't immediately purchase or they don't immediately get this, or we broke even bringing them in, right? But then how long are they going to stay with you? You know, I launched a fitness membership in 2020. I still have people doing that membership right now, 4 years later, and don't do anything with it. Like it
I
just
love
sits
that
there.
so many people are not thinking about long term. And again, it's survival mode. It's all back to your energy, right? You're in survival mode, so you think short term. But just allowing yourself a little more trust, a little more faith, and allowing yourself to be supported in wherever you are and on your journey will allow you to think more long term and allow you to be a little more, I want to say, strategic in the way you show up, and also understanding that, you know what, business is all about, it's like relationships. So when you first meet someone, you don't want to have sex with them immediately, right? You want to date people, you want to get to know them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you only want to have, intimacy with people who really are connected, where you feel a connection. What is so different from bro marketing and
I was
all
gonna
the
say that.
like pushing their buttons and stuff. No, no, be real. Like be real, show up, be real, be vulnerable, be authentic, connect with people.
It's so true. When you said it, I was thinking about that with, like, the bro marketing. A lot of times, think about who is championing that and how do they probably think about dating? Not saying all of them are that way, right? But it is the psychology of just get in there fast, win, and then where are you at after that, you know?
On like a very serious note, the whole paradigm of someone having the power over somebody else, like, and we're going to manipulate them to do something. That is like the problem with toxic marketing. It is exactly what's going on. And it has to change to more purpose driven marketing, where we're actually in it with our hearts and we are here to help people. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, but I'm also here to help people. But then please don't use toxic marketing strategies.
I want to make sure I ask you as a second to last question because I brought it up earlier and it was like a tease. It will be the if I don't, it will be toxic if I don't actually ask you and follow through on it. I think this is also something I've struggled with. So I'm very curious to get your opinion on it. And we talked about at the beginning of this episode the difficulty of bringing your in person self and energy and uniqueness and the way you relate to online. If you have wisdom to share on that, because I know, like, personally, that's something that's always been very difficult for me. And I think a lot of us try to contort into what we see online and we try to present ourselves that way and create that way, but it just never works as well as the original person naturally.
I think, first of all, there is a place of time to be in real life, and there is a place of time to be online. It is two different experiences, and it's accepting that and being okay with that. Online is not the same as in real life, and it's not supposed to be. But that really makes a difference is allowing yourself to be authentic. I don't even remember if I said this, but strategy is always an extension of your authenticity. Strategy is always an extension of your energy and who you are. It's so important to understand that when we run a business, we are the CEOs, the CEOs, like, and it takes such a strong personal leadership to actually integrate this and lead with your authenticity in all aspects: marketing, selling, product developing, team members, coaching your showing up for your clients. Like, it takes such an extreme amount of personal leadership to insist on that instead of allowing others to influence you. You need to be able to understand that strategy is an extension of you, our authentic energy, words, way of showing up. And we need to always be in tune with our intuition. Does it feel right? Does it not feel right? So instead of going into the market and be like, oh, I'm going to hire this coach so she can tell me what to do, we have to go into the market and be like, I'm going to hire this coach so I can explore myself in her mythology, in her process. So I can mirror myself into that and use that as a way to feel into what is right for me and what is wrong for me and what would work for me and what would not work for me, instead of being afraid of failure and being afraid of, looking stupid or whatever. It is part of the process of getting to know who you are and, putting yourself in that throne of yours as the CEO, business queen that you are.
Don't be afraid to bring your quirkiness, your soul, your difference to it. If people are listening, they're getting excited, inspired, which I know they will be. Where can they connect with you? Where can they learn more? And how can they work with you?
The best way to start to get to know me a little better is to come into my newsletter. So actually just go into my website, the Soulful Empress, or my Instagram, and opt in for the newsletter. And if you want to work with me, depending on what you want to do, like if you want to dive more into the whole, bringing your own energy into your business, then definitely jump on my human design course. It's kind of amazing. And other than that, client attractor, effortless expansion is going to be amazing depending on where you are in your business. Yeah.
This is a really important note for everyone listening is that you might have a different way to connect with Mia based on where you're at right now. And so to really think about that when you're doing it, because I always ask people here, how can people connect? But I love that you've talked about different places that might make more sense to them. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that people go and find you. They should connect with you, learn more. And I'm so grateful for having met you and that everyone should be so lucky.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.